Agent videos are back, but this time I've got a secret weapon up my sleeve. It's a time machine. I've got a footballing time machine. And today features one of the biggest wastes of talent I've seen since I've been doing these videos. Meet Morgan Gibbs-White. The 30-year-old has been at Manchester United for 5 years after a blockbuster £48.5 million move from Nottingham Forest in August 2025. Despite expecting to be a starter, his first season's playing time left a lot to be desired as he started only 4 games in the Prem and has only gone downhill from here. His next 3 full seasons at the club have yielded just 14 starts for 28 appearances. He also spent a season on loan at Villarreal in this period, but once again couldn't start games, with 23 of his 27 appearances being from the bench. A bright spot is his declaration for Jamaica and the 21 caps he's earned for them, including playing at the 2030 World Cup. He's earning $120k a week at United, but on the pitch his career could have turned out oh so different. On to player 2. Meet Emile Smith Rowe. The 27-year-old Arsenal youth graduate has been at Juventus for 4.5 years after a whopping £40.5 million move in the summer of 2024. Initially, he moved on loan in January that year and exploded into Serie A, starting 16 games in just the second half of the season, scoring 2 and assisting 3. This was enough to convince Juve to make the move permanent, and unfortunately where his troubles began. In his next 4 years with the old lady, he only started 10 matches out of 22 appearances despite only being injured for 18 days in that 4 years. He's never even been close to a return to the England squad, and despite earning £105,000 a week at Juve, he must be wondering what could have been. Since it's been a while since we've done one of these videos, we're going to do a third player today. So meet Shaqueel van Persie. The 24-year-old has been at Man United for 3.5 years after an enormous £66 million move on deadline day in January 2028 after a brilliant half season in Feyenoord's first team. Over the next 3 years at Man United, he'd start just 1 Premier League game and come off the bench 30 times. As a younger player, this was slightly more understandable, but he made no starts in either Cups or Continental games in that period as well, with just 13 substitute appearances. Despite a very successful half-season loan spell with Celtic, in which he registered 8 goal contributions in 12 appearances, United have now deemed him surplus to requirement and are looking to move the player on. He's earning a whopping £350,000 a week despite the lack of playing time, which makes this one of the most outrageous wastes of talent I've seen in all my time doing these agent videos. Surely there was a better path. All 3 of these players' careers could have turned out so differently if they just had better advice when they were younger. So today, we give them that second chance. Apologies, it's been a while since we've had an agent video. Despite them having sort of endless possibilities, I always want each one I do to have a kind of unique twist to them. I'm considering doing one perhaps on a retro database, as well as maybe one in the first season of a save with players who've already made the bad move in theory in real life. So if you've got any players that you think would suit that, do let me know. In addition, every time I make one of these videos, I always get questions about how it's done and how you could do it too. So I'm considering making a full video just simply explaining that stuff. So if you would be interested in that, let me know. We'd go through all like the filters, the views, the methods and stuff that I used to find players, find the moves, how it works and all that sort of stuff. So again, if you're interested, let me know. So today we are mixing things up a little bit. Instead of digging the players out of the holes that they've got themselves into, we're using my trusty footballing time machine to go back to before those moves even happened to give them the second chance that they maybe deserve. Which means today we're actually going to end up with 3 timelines for each player. One in which they continue their career as it was with the original agent and that move already happened to dig themselves out. One in which we go back and stop them from making that move and keep them at that club for at least 2 more years to see if that would help. And finally, one where I will choose a suitable move for them in that same window if they are insistent on moving to see if I can do a better job than their original agent. As always with these videos, I like to work within the parameters of the game world as best I can, which is going to make today a lot more complex because we're not dealing with guys that are basically being shifted on for cheap and have low wage demands. We're talking about players who are very much in demand for the most part, and that is going to be very, very difficult indeed. Once we've done all that, we're going to compare the timelines to see who did it best, me, their original agent, or their original agent, but like with me in the background going, oi, stop it. Stop it. Bad agent. Now to my part. I've selected a couple of options for moves for each of the 3 players. We're going to show you those and then make the best one of those happen. I'll be figuring this out by finding suitable clubs, taking over as that club's manager to get an idea of wage demands, whether the player would want to make the move and stuff like that. Then once the move is done and all secure, I will be backing out, reloading, and then making that same move in the editor. That way they don't lose their manager or any silly nonsense like that, and it's utterly seamless. Well, that's the idea anyway. It actually came to the point where I was going day by day through transfer windows, trying to see if there was any gaps in the market with teams selling players, coming into money and things like that to find settling spots for some of these guys. Although I would say that's actually quite a good way of doing this. It's just very time consuming, as you'll see. So let's get started with Morgan Gibbs-White. We are back in the summer of 2025, around a month or so before his ill-fated move to Manchester United. And we're going to hopefully find him a better move for career progression than that if he is determined to move this summer. He has a release clause of £48.5 million to clubs in the Champions League, but I believe with some clauses that should give us a little bit of wiggle room to maybe knock it down slightly. He's at his best when he's deployed either in the centre of the midfield or in the central attacking midfield role. While he can play out wide, I've noticed this year that AI clubs are reluctant to play players who aren't fully natural in those positions. They tend to choose worse players who have natural role suitability, even if they are quite a bit worse, unless the gap is massive. So I've focused on central roles for this to make sure that he gets the football that he deserves. First up, Monaco. The French side finished 5th last season and will play Europa League football next year. He'd slot in as one of the best players at the club, as well as towards the very top of their wage structure, with an estimated wage demand of around £75,000 a week. The biggest issue is simple. They cannot afford him. They don't have the transfer money available and the wage budget available to actually bring him to the club, which is a shame because it would have been a nice springboard for him. Having already eliminated other English sides in contention for this, I turned my attention to Spain and Sevilla. They finished 7th in La Liga last season under Vincent Kompany, but he took over the reins when they were 14th in the league in November, so it's a miracle that they actually got into Europe at all. They operate in a 4-4-2, and his biggest rivals for position would be Gibril Sow and Oliver, though I do believe that he is better than both of them. He would slot as well into the top echelons of the club's wage structure, but not the very top. By calling in some clauses and structuring the fees around a little bit, Sevilla could actually make the move possible. However, I felt that there was one move that was just ever so slightly better for the progression of his career. Villarreal. So staying in Spain with the Yellow Submarine, we know that he had an unsuccessful loan spell with Villarreal in the original timeline when he was at Manchester United, but I still believe this could be a great move for him, even if maybe the timings were a little bit wrong on that. They came 8th in the Liga last season under Marcelino, which was enough to get them Europa Conference League football, but not enough for him to keep his job. New coach Javi Gracia operates in a 4-4-2, which means his main rivals for position would be Ramon Terrats and Dani Parejo, so I don't believe he'd struggle to get football there. With the sales of Akamatch, Comesaña and Brereton Diaz for a combined nearly £36 million, they are flush with cash on top of their original budget, so should have no trouble bringing him to the club on the finance side of things. He wouldn't want wages even close to that of top earner Alexander Sørloth, so would slot nicely into the club's wage structure and still be one of their key players, with the aim of progressing there a little bit and maybe even making one more move in the future. I managed to get Forest to agree to a £41.5 million deal, which is actually less than I was expecting considering the release clause. Even better were his slightly lower contract demands, which turned out to be £66,000 to go to Villarreal on a 5-year deal with the customarily enormous release clause, because Spain. I'm curious to see if this benefits him any more than staying at Forest for a couple more seasons, but we'll find that out later in the video. Now to Emile Smith Rowe. This time the time machine takes us back to January 2024, just a few weeks before he makes that loan move initially to Juventus. For whatever reason, I was unable to get Arsenal to accept a bid that matched the one that Juventus got into that loan deal, even when I took over as Juve on the same day that it was supposed to happen and tried to offer them that same exact deal. I don't know what magic they were working, but I was simply not able to do it as a human player. Bloody AI cheating again. Emile's at his best when he's in the centre of midfield or in that attacking midfield role, although he can play it on the left-hand side naturally too, which gives him lots of places to potentially slot into a team. So who was in the running? First up, Marseille. The French side are off the back of 2nd and 3rd place finishes and currently sit 5th in the league within touching distance of 2nd place under manager Gennaro Gattuso. They'd already spent huge in the summer but still had transfer budget to burn. He'd be virtually guaranteed game time and a chance to rebuild his career at the club, but unfortunately, despite having a decent amount of transfer budget, they are so badly overspending their wage budget that it was simply not going to be possible for them to be able to afford his wages and the transfer fee at the same time. Next, I looked back to England and Brighton. De Zerbi's men currently sit 6th in the Premier League and are looking to strengthen to make that push for Champions League football. Thanks to massive sales in the summer, they're absolutely loaded, so they would have no trouble affording the player. He'd slot in towards the top of the wage structure while still not breaking the bank and give them much needed reinforcements in that attacking midfield role. Adam Lallana most likely won't be at the club for much longer, and Facundo Buonanotte is currently trying to force a move away from the club already. This would leave the Seagulls fairly light in that area, but with the inevitable emergence of Julio Enciso in that position, it's most likely that he would overtake Emile Smith Rowe very, very fast and thus would push him back down the pecking order again. But luckily for him, the perfect move revealed itself to us 8 days into the transfer window. Aston Villa. Leon Bailey has just forced through a £63 million move to Saudi club Al Ittihad, leaving Villa with a gaping chasm on the left side of their midfield and bags of money with which to go and fill it. Emery's Villa sit 3rd in the league at the moment, interestingly 3 points above ESR's current club, Arsenal, so it seems like the stars have aligned to give him a chance to progress his career and maybe even actually finish above Arsenal. Villa operate in a 4-2-4, but with Bailey gone, forgotten, Smith Rowe's main competition for that place comes from John McGinn, who's predominantly operated on the right-hand side of that same tactic this season so far. Smith Rowe wouldn't even be amongst the highest earners at the club, so this could be the perfect move for both him and the club to further his career. Arsenal played hardball and actually demanded £47 million for ESR, but luckily Villa had more than double that thanks to the massive sale of Bailey, so that was easily enough sorted. I secured a 4-year deal on £105,000 a week with a wage rise clause should he get back into international contention with England, which naturally will be the goal for any player, I suppose. Hopefully, this can be the springboard that relaunches his career. Lastly, we move to our final contestant, Shaqueel van Persie, in January 2028. Van Persie is best deployed as an out-and-out striker, which is what I'll be focusing on when trying to find him a move, although he can do a job out wide as well. What's really weird is that 5 years into the game, he can now apparently do a completely comfortable job as a DM. I don't know how that's happened, because I'm fairly certain that he does not have that at the start of the game, and I really want to know which manager looked to him with his 5 tackling, 6 marking, average passing and vision and went, yeah, definitely want him at the base of the midfield. On his slot, apparently. At just 21 years old and rocking a £66 million release clause thanks to a contract signed in 2026, it's gonna be tough to find him a suitable move. And I genuinely believe that the best move for him at this point in time is probably the no-move option, but we'll find out if that's true later in the video. But since he's insistent on a move this summer, I had to do my best to find him that move. Now, the huge release clause pretty much eliminated most teams from contention and made this very, very difficult. So first up, Bayern Munich. The Bavarians are naturally flying high at the top of the Bundesliga with Harry Kane banging in goals for them. However, with Kane being 34, they actually don't have that much depth directly behind him. They do have Matthijs Tel and Jamal Musiala, but they're both operating in other positions within that same system, so there may still be a space for him to be a backup to Kane for a little bit and then take over as the Englishman declines. Fees and wages are no problem because Bayern, and neither is prestige because Xabi Alonso's men have won every single title so far in this save. But I felt I could do better. Tottenham. They're actively interested in the player in-game as it happens anyway, under his former manager Arne Slot. They'd have no trouble being able to afford the deal, and at first glance his main competition for places appeared to come from Richarlison and Matteo Retegui, which seemed reasonable. That wasn't until I realised that Spurs had dumped £23 million into highly rated regen Giulio Yancini from Genk in the last throes of the summer window, which made his progression seem a lot more difficult because frankly this kid is dynamite. Another factor was the downside of moving him to a club who are the arch rivals of the team his dad played for, so yeah, that too. At this point I thought all hope was lost of finding him a decent move that actually had playing time. But then a massive transfer struck Europe, the dominoes of which have allowed me to find what I believe could actually be the best move that he could make at this point. RB Leipzig. The German side have just sold star striker Benjamin Sesko to Chelsea for a whopping £96 million, leaving them with a massive hole to fill, as well as a transfer budget of £205 million. Oliver Glasner's men have come second to Bayern in each of the last 3 seasons in the Bundesliga and will need to fill that gap quickly in order to try and do it again. With Sesko gone, they're going to be relying on Loic Openda, who is a very good player, but he's actually around the same level as Shaqueel van Persie in terms of CA, but he's also 6 years older than him and has a much lower ceiling. After triggering his £66 million release clause, I agreed a 4-year deal on £64,000 a week with a wage rise bump should he continue his form on an international level. This should give him hopefully the best chance to develop into a brilliant footballer. And now comes the really fun part, or the part where I look at it. Either way, it's fun for you. We're now going to head to the future to see how each of the players got on in their different timelines. The first stop will be the one where they stayed at the club for an extra 2 years. In case you're wondering how I did that, is I just edited in a massive release clause and had it timed for 2 years to try to, in theory, stop any kind of leaving. And I have managed to do that for the most part from what I can tell. Then to look at their careers after the moves that I chose for them, and finally to compare it to how they would have done it with the original agent should their career have continued at the same trajectory. So now let's open the door, hop into our footballing DeLorean and head back to the future. We're going to be doing 5 and 10 year check-ins as well as end of career for the move that I made, but only end of career ones for the other two, such as to make the video not unnecessarily long, given that I know that it's going to be quite a long one anyway, given that we're doing 3 players and I don't want to, bog it down too much. So first up, Morgan Gibbs-White, if he'd stayed at Forest for a minimum of 2 more seasons. Let's go. Oh my God. So that's very, very fascinating indeed, and I'm starting to believe that the Man United move might have been the one for him. Now, we know that this is actually the end of his career because he's not present in the next year of the simulation. Even though it says he's not retiring right now, I can assure you that he is about to retire. He's at Dundee, particularly as it's noting that he's not got any international caps either for England or Jamaica in this save. It's like he stayed in that kind of middle ground. It looks like he stayed at Nottingham Forest for at least a couple more seasons. 37 million... Wait. Oh my goodness. So I believe it was this summer here, at the start of 2025-26, where he would have made that move. So you can see that he did stay for those 2 more years. Actually had an unbelievable year that year with 11 goals in the Premier League. So I think that staying at Forest, definitely for that first season there, was massively the right choice. Like, he clearly killed it with Forest that year. I'll have a look at where they finished actually that season, because I feel like that would have propelled them forwards. And then continued to play okay for them, but was still playing a lot of football. It wasn't like he wasn't playing. And then somehow Southampton decided, yeah, 37 million quid for him. And it's not like Forest looked like they were in trouble at this point, unless they got relegated. He immediately got relegated with Southampton, despite that huge fee, then kind of ended up yo-yoing around a little bit with Southampton to the Premier League. Had a good season again in the Championship there. Probably one of his best sort of goal outputs of his career there, in fact, before being released to go to Dundee in Scotland, where he managed 1 goal last season, and this season we know that he retires immediately. So Forest did, yes, so that's what happened. So his move to Southampton came about as a result of him getting relegated with Nottingham Forest in 2028. They came 18th in the league after, well, despite his good output, they really sort of struggled a bit. Yeah, this was the year that they went down, 32 points in the end, so not amazing. And this was the year that he actually got those 11 goals in the league, and they still actually, well, they stayed up by what, 5 points in the end? Okay, let's check his milestones, see if he's managed to win anything. We'll just go straight to competitions, I suppose. So he's won relegation. It's not amazing, honestly. He's been relegated 3 times there, twice with Southampton actually, and once with Forest. Did manage to win promotion with Southampton, but it's not really the career that I suspect he would have wanted. So maybe staying actually wasn't the best choice for him that summer. Maybe it was just the choice of move that he made that was the big problem. I really hope he's done better at Villarreal now. Surely he can't have failed to do better while he's at Villarreal, right? It gets them relegated to the 2nd tier. So let's go 5 years into his career after the Villarreal move. That should hopefully tell us something good. Please. So we're in 2030. I suspect that the bulk of the good stuff has to have really happened to him here, because I don't know whether he'd even managed to go 10 years in, honestly. So let's find out. If he still says he's at Villarreal, he's still there. That could be good or bad. No international God, have I really screwed this up this badly? He looks good, and he has played for Villarreal. I mean, 153 appearances for, but maybe he's won stuff. Maybe he's won stuff, and that sort of helps a little bit. £70,000 a week contract to Villarreal, which means I think he has signed a new deal with them at least to bump his wage up ever so slightly. Massive release clause, of course. So he's earning okay money, but he would have been getting better money at Man United. That much we do know for a fact. I think it's going to heavily come down to whether he's won anything at Villarreal or whether he goes on to in the final part of his career. But I'm a little bit worried now. Career history, what happened? So immediately, wow, okay, that is a hell. I think that he's been probably performed better. He seems to have operated in slightly different spots for Villarreal. Like after that first move, and actually no goals that season, but 6 assists. Did start, though, 22 of 24 appearances and played well. But this year, holy God, 7 goals and 11 assists in La Liga, 18 goal contributions for them in 36 matches is pretty fantastic. Makes me think they must have had a good season that year. And it seems like it sort of just declined slowly but surely after that. I think he's played better football, and at least it's been top flight. So I suppose I think that I've outperformed the staying at Villarreal, but I'm still not sure, honestly, about the other one. Because the thing is, with his original agent, he could still do stuff in the future there too. He could still make that move and make a cracking career. We'll check the milestones fully once we know that he's retired. We're going to try to go 10 years from now, but I'm not sure if he's still going to be playing at 35. Right, moment of truth. Is he still about? He's an assistant manager, unemployed. Hopefully he's good. He's not. Okay, cool. Right, that's gone well for you. Oh, wow, he's been all over the shop. It doesn't appear, though, that if we can see whether he did. Oh, no, he did. He managed to declare for Jamaica and get 19 caps and 2 goals. Wow, he did that really, really late, which I don't believe is quite as many as he got when he was with Man United as well. But still, he at least did it. Right, okay, let's just see how his career went after that. So, literally, he does that season and just doesn't play. He just completely fell out of the pecking order right at that point at the age of 30. They must have signed someone, which we'll have a look into in a minute. Did do a fairly successful year, actually, though, on loan in the Eredivisie with Ajax. Came back to Villarreal and was more of a bit part player, but actually played a decent amount more. Then moved for 400 grand to Luton in the Championship, where he was mostly a sub there, and then went to Marseille in Ligue 1, where these must have been 2 substitute appearances because he didn't even register a rating. Oh. Oh no, he's won the Supercopa de España. So I'll have a little look at what Villarreal got up to, because that means they must have finished high enough up to be playing in the Supercopa de España, because maybe they did some good stuff. Oh damn. Ironically, this happens. Oh no, that was when he was with the club. Wow, they really did struggle. His first season at the club, I think, they came 15th. So yeah, he joins them there. The next year, they come 15th, then 6th, a couple of 10ths, and then a couple of 3rd places. But I wonder if it was at this point when he started to get phased out. He did come 3rd with them, which I assume is possibly how he got into that. And ironically, when he left, they actually started playing better. Well, sort of. they certainly have established themselves a lot, and I feel like he had a hand in that. It's just not been quite as successful as I was hoping. I thought I'd actually hit a winner with Villarreal. I guess I may still be onto one, but only if the rest of his career at Man United is an absolute disaster. It'd be interesting if he went into management in this one as well. Let's see where he's up to these days. Oh my god. Okay. Now, I know for a fact this is the last year of his career because he's not present in any of the future databases, so he must be like 33. What on earth? Holy what on earth? Morgan Gibbs-White, 52 caps for Jamaica, 5 goals. But it's the fact that he's playing for CF Pachuca in Mexico. That's amazing. I mean, I've been absolutely done. But that's wild. Okay, let's just... Sorry for all the career stats. It just defaults to that whenever you do this a lot of the time. And because there's so many different timelines, it becomes a bugger to change them all every single time. Let's go straight to career stats. This is insane. So obviously we know that when it was here, he was at Manchester United because that was the starting point and he wasn't playing. Wow. So he did another year... Well, no, he didn't. He moved to Celtic immediately for £9 million. Didn't really play much for Celtic either. Had a better second year at Celtic, ironically, when he was still only like 31 at that point. Then for £3 million moves to CF Pachuca in Mexico, starts 29 games in the Mexican league, gets a goal, couple of assists there. I know that he retires after this season, which is surprising considering he's still only 33 years old. And he's only like been 33 for half a year. He's only like 33 and a half. It's quite an early one for him to hang up his boots, but I know for a fact he does retire. That's really strange. Loving it for him. More international caps, like a lot more international caps than in either of my estimations. He got to play in Mexico. The question is whether he's won stuff. Now, he must have won something at Man United, which is probably going to end up being the thing, isn't it? Yeah, so he has won stuff with Man United. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Now, how much of a hand he really had in those is slightly different, but he has won the Premier League with Celtic in Scotland. Sorry, Premiership. And a couple of Premier Sports Cup wins in there too with Celtic. Scottish Cup runner-up, another league title, Nations League runner-up with Jamaica as well. It's one of these things where when you're judging this, it's like, yes, he won stuff at Man United, but was he really involved in that? How much does that matter? He was earning more money at Man United, though. He did get more international caps for Jamaica as well. He then got a move to Celtic, which allowed him to win some league titles in his career, and then he got a move to Mexico. And part of me thinks that the original agent might have had the right idea. He got his money, he got some league titles, and he got to play in Mexico for a year. I hate to say it, but I think I might have lost this one, but we will see. Not the best start, but hopefully Emile Smith Rowe and Shaqueel van Persie can, what is with the double-barreled names today, can dig us out of a hole a little bit. So, Emile Smith Rowe, if he stayed at Arsenal for hopefully a minimum of 2 more seasons. So he was retired in the year after this, which means this should be the one in theory. I didn't look at his actual profile, and oh wow, okay. So this was the one where, yeah, so you can see he is retiring there. No more England caps, notably there. 35 years old, playing for FC Dallas. So this is the one where he stayed at Arsenal for an extra season or 2. I think it was 2, but I think there was a loan move in the middle of that, which looks like what happened with Lazio, because I had to keep an eye on it for those initial 2 years to see if he would stay. This is fascinating. So what happened here then? He did manage to get a loan move to Lazio, and then he was just determined to go on a loan plus transfer move to Italy, wasn't he? £28 million this time to Lazio, but this time he took off. Like, I know he hit the ground running with Juve, but he really hit the ground running with Lazio, particularly that second season. 8 goals and an assist in there too. The third season though, wow, 7 goals, 5 assists. Then the next year, 7 goals, 6 assists. That's just such consistent football for him as well. Being in his late 20s there, and that attracted the interest of Benfica, who then dumped £30.5 million. So Lazio actually made a profit on him, incredibly. And then to be fair, he kind of killed it in Portugal as well. 3 goals, 3 assists. Then look at those. 3 goals, 8 assists back to back. And then an 8-goal season for them as well. Like, he was always getting at least 10 goal contributions a season, pretty much consistently from that point onwards. I feel like that's surely going to beat out whatever he does with the whole Juventus situation, because he's had a really solid spell of a career now. And I feel like I'm surely going to win this round of things. And then had a lovely little freebie move to FC Dallas in the MLS. Did manage to score a goal for them. Got a couple of assists among playing appallingly, but I feel like sometimes FM just punishes players randomly for playing in leagues that aren't actually turned on. But it is sad to see no more international caps for him, though. I felt that was always going to be tough. I wonder if he can get them in the Villa move, but we'll see. Right, milestones, competitions, what are we saying? Oh, wow. Really? Community Shield with Arsenal, but that's literally before this. Carabao runner-up with Arsenal and Champions League run. Benfica didn't win a single title. So he actually has won the Portuguese league. It's just because the league isn't actually switched on in this save, it didn't count it for him, but I just checked and we can see this. You can see that Benfica definitely did win the league there, and he was at the club at the time. So he has won a couple of Portuguese, well, certainly one Portuguese top flight division, and a lot of runner-up honours there. Oh, look at Sporting. They're just like always third, apparently. But I think that our move is going to be slightly better. I really hope our move is slightly better, but that one's worked out pretty damn well. So let's go 5 years into the future of my move and see if it's done any better than that. Part of me really hopes that he is still actually at Villa in this, because I think that would indicate some kind of longevity, unless he's not playing. So let us find out. He's definitely going to still be playing at the moment. Oh, well then. I mean, I'm not saying I've done well here, but that that could be disastrous for him as well. Let's bear that in mind. Or if he's got England caps. No, he hasn't. But 91 million... Things you love to see. I mean, this could still be a disaster for him, but that looks to me like it could have potentially been the perfect move. Holy God. Okay, and he's not even done yet. He's still only 28 here. He's earning £230,000 a week at Manchester City. Still incredibly no England caps in addition to what he already had. And I feel like if he was going to get any, that would have probably already happened by now. And I think the England squad's just so stacked he wasn't going to. But January that year, £47 million move to Villa, second half of the season. Oh my goodness. So actually, weirdly, didn't play for the whole rest of that season. This was so nearly that... Wait, they got relegated? What the hell happened at Aston? We need to investigate that. This might be one of the wildest sort of transfer sagas I've seen in one of these videos. Anyway, doesn't play for them for the whole second half of that season for whatever reason. Despite them... Maybe they signed someone else. We'll have to check that. But then the following year, absolutely explodes. 8 goals in the league, 3 assists. Following year, 6 goals, 7 assists. The next year, 7 more goals, 3 assists, and then they get relegated. He scores 7 times and gets 3 assists for Villa that year, has a blinder, and they get relegated with him. Actually played a couple of games for them in the Championship too before Manchester City paid 91 million quid. Bear in mind, he had no release clause. Well, not at the time anyway. 91 million pounds for a Championship player. That's insane. That might be the most I've ever seen paid for a Championship player in FM before. And then, admittedly, he only starts 1 game for City that season, and this year, okay, he's actually grown into the team. 8 starts and 16 substitute appearances, but I must say it's not working out amazingly for him at Manchester City, other than the enormous transfer fee and the amount of wages that he's earning. But it's certainly worked out for him at Villa as far as a personal standpoint, because, I mean, when you look what happened to him before, this is surely a step up from that. Like, regularly doing stuff. He's surely going to have won things, right? Emery must have been poached. Let's go 5 years on and find out. Now, I'm pretty certain he's got to still be playing here, right? If he's still at Man City, that'll be intriguing. No, he's at Leicester. Okay. Wait, Real Madrid? Yes! I have no idea what's going on. He's got more England caps. He's up to 6 England caps. Now, he actually did make it back into the national team as well. He's only 93 grand a week at Leicester. My goodness. Okay, you know what we got to do? Straight to that. He's not retiring immediately. Probably got another year or two in him, potentially. Oh my God. So yeah, he fell out of the pecking order again at Man City, then was bought by Real Madrid for nearly 50 million quid. And admittedly, it's not been amazing for him there either, although he did score 4 times in 10 games in La Liga for Real Madrid. He's got to have won Champions Leagues and many, many league titles on a free transfer to Leicester City, where he's now making substitute appearances for them in the Premier League on 90 grand a week. All right, let's find the end of his career so we can actually look and see what he's won, because he must have won buttloads of stuff. Is he still knocking about? Yes, he is. This was the last year of his career, so he actually finishes at Leicester City. Does he play much for them? It doesn't look like he played much in that final year of his... Well, he actually did start more games that second season. Played worse, but he did do it. It's really hard to... I mean, the fact is, he's moved for enormous transfer fees several times and has played for Man City, Real Madrid as well, despite getting relegated with Villa. And he's actually had, I'd say, a pretty successful career. Now, it's a question of whether that's better than playing at Benfica and Lazio, really. I think that's going to come down heavily to what he's won. Though what I will say is he did manage to do enough to get 3 more international caps, which I think is a massive selling point as well. To get back into the England team in his late 20s like that, maybe even his early 30s for all we know. That's incredible. Right, to the milestones. I know what you want to see. Let's go. What have we got? Oh my goodness me. So we actually, oh wow. So we actually won the FA Cup with Aston Villa as well. That's really good that he won something at Villa and then less than a year later was relegated, but enough about that. Won the Premier League, won the Champions League with City, won the Champions League. Oh my goodness. So he's won multiple Champions Leagues as well. In fact, back-to-back Champions League winners with City. He's won the league in Spain, the cup in Spain, lots of leagues and cups in Spain. He's won a lot of things. Multiple, well, actually only one Premier League, interestingly. He wasn't at City that long, I guess, but he did win a Premier League there. Won multiple leagues in Spain, won the Champions League multiple times as well. 3 more England caps, earned a lot of money. I think his original agent's going to do tough to beat that. Let me just say that now. I think my biggest question is what on earth happened to Villa? That's what we have to figure out before we move on. So the year that he joined them, they got into the Champions League. Then they must have fallen out a little bit due to the lack of... What? 36 points? Oh my goodness. They then got 115 in the Championship. What the hell? That might be close to one of the best records ever in the Championship right there. I know Reading and Burnley have had insane Championship seasons, but that is unhinged. So yeah, first year at the club, they qualify for Europe, albeit not scoring a lot of goals, like very few goals in fact. That's crazy. Then qualified for the Europa League, came 9th, and then got relegated with 36 points. Only scored 40 times. Wow, they conceded 60 times that season. It must have been a managerial switch, surely. Yeah, they won the league by 32 points. I don't think I've ever seen a team win the league by 32 points. They only conceded 25 goals in a 46-game season. Yeah, so Unai Emery left his role that summer, and then they had Thomas Frank. But I think it was Will Still. Yeah, it was. It was Will Still that actually got them relegated in the end, but did win them the championship the following season, so much of a muchness. Emery must, given that he wasn't sacked, I'm guessing he took over a massive side. Yeah, he was hired as, oh my goodness me. as if, hang on, he was hired as Chelsea. FM sometimes models real life in a way that makes you just go, what do you know that we don't? So this is like the Graham Potter story, basically. He's hired as Chelsea manager there, and literally 5 months later is immediately sacked. Then he takes over at Brentford and actually probably does okay after that, and ends up bloody a manager of Catanzaro. He's currently the manager of Catanzaro. He's got them stabilised in Serie A. Fair enough. Sorry, I know we went down a bit of a rabbit hole there. I was just extremely blown away by all the weird stuff that's happened in this particular simulation. Right, swinging things back, point being, ESR's had a bloody incredible career. I'm really pleased with that. I just don't see there's any way that his OG agent is going to have done better than that, but you never know. Let's go and find out quickly. Right, he wasn't clickable as an active player in 2036, which means this must have been his last year. So the question is, who is he with? Okay. There's been some much more wild, like, moves around the globe in this save. How long was... Okay, let's go. Zenit. For 2 wow, he's actually played there. Oh, he was at Lazio for ages. Wow, he was at Lazio in both. No more England caps though, but he has got Italian second nationality now, which is kind of dope. He's now Emile Smith Rowe. So yeah, the depression, actually he kind of did okay that season. He kind of bounced back a little bit. Finally started playing games for Juve again. 19 starts, two goals. Wow, what a season though. Free transfer to Lazio, 11 goals and 5 assists. And to be fair, he's absolutely killed it for 3 straight years at Lazio. Double-digit goal contributions every single season, just solid as a rock. And then what on earth happened here? Not a single appearance. He goes from making 32 appearances, most of which are starts, to not a single one in the league, and only 2 in the cup. Following year, he's back, but barely playing, and then he moves on a free transfer to Zenit in Russia, where he does actually, to be fair, absolutely kill it. Just a very strange transfer. Earning good money. Okay, we've got to see what happened with that. Well, check his injuries. It's got to be in here somewhere, right? Anything major. All the injuries he had are the real-life ones from prior to this. He's not been particularly injured by much at all in this save. So something happened there. They must have signed someone. Maybe Mateus Felipe? No, he's a goalkeeper. I'm just looking at players that have joined. I don't know what happened to him. Did he just fall out with them? Maybe they changed systems or something. I don't know what system they could have moved to that he wouldn't fit into, but apparently that seems to be what must have happened. He's probably won a few things, honestly. So he won... Well, he actually didn't win any league... Oh, no, yeah, he did win the Serie A with Juve at one point. You won the Europa League with Lazio, though. So there is that. And a Coppa Italia, although is that actually the Coppa Italia? I think it is, right? And a Super Cup and a Europa League runner-up with Lazio. So he's done things in this. It's just, I feel like surely playing for Real Madrid, Man City, winning Premier Leagues, Champions League titles does sort of supersede that. Although he didn't do badly for Lazio by any means. And if it wasn't for that random season where he played none at all, I think that could have been fairly competitive. But I'm fairly certain I've done all right with my move. I'm happy with that. Which brings us to the one I'm most excited about, because when I saw that opportunity for the Šeško, when Šeško left, basically, and there was that gap at Leipzig, I know it was a risk because Loic Openda's around the same level of CA. I felt that might be the perfect move for him to actually get, because I don't think he's still going to be at Leipzig, let's put it that way. But I'm very curious to see how he does. But first, we're going to find out what happened when he stayed at Feyenoord for a couple more seasons. So take it away, Shaqueel van Persie. So I know that he wasn't present in the next year of this, which means this has to be the year that he retires. But we're in 2043. Al Rayed. Okay. How old is he now? 36. Yeah, he's out of contract, which means he retires this summer. So what the hell? Oh, wow. So the question is how long he actually... Wow, he's been around a little bit. He does actually end up moving to Spurs, but it doesn't look like it's that summer. Not even close to, in fact. Okay, let's go straight to the career stats. He's done good money, obviously. Look at the caps. 84 caps, 24 goals for the Dutch national team as well. Yeah, this season here, 12 goals. That was the season he was on. Next year was even better at 15 goals. Then he kind of dipped off massively. But then 14 goals that season. He, if anything, stayed at Feyenoord perhaps even a little bit too long in this one. Given the release clause was only for 2 years. Yeah, then he got the move to Spurs. 73 million quid to Tottenham in the Premier League, many years after the original move was potentially going to be made, or never actually made, but Spurs were interested, as I showed you earlier. Did have a breakout year this year, though. Like 15 goals in the Premier League that year for Spurs. He's pretty damn good. I don't know if he really reached his max PA, though, it looks like. Kind of sort of started to drift off almost immediately after that as it goes. 15 goals that year, then 5 and a lot less appearances, and then left Spurs on a free transfer to go to Saudi and has just absolutely killed it, obviously. 18 goals and 11 assists. I mean, that is ridiculous kind of numbers, but you'd expect a player of this kind of quality to be putting up those kind of numbers. At least this time around, he was certainly improving and getting goals, so when he did move to the Premier League, he was at least able to play lots of matches. So I feel like at least keeping him there would have done that. He's bound to have won some stuff. He's won some stuff with Spurs. It's lots of things have happened. Like he's won a lot of titles. Actually, Nations League runner-up with the Netherlands there too, actually. Won the European Championship with the Netherlands as well. Won the Eredivisie many, many times, in fact. Europa League runner-up with Spurs. Won the FA Cup. Won the Carabao Cup. Won the Premier League with Tottenham in 2038. Now, was that his final year where he barely did anything? He contributed in some manner, but he did at least have, ironically, him playing less seemed to be what Spurs needed to win the Premier League. But Spurs have won the Premier League. Benchmark for me to try and beat with my Leipzig. I mean, this could all go horribly wrong, for example, if they just start playing Loic Openda instead of him and don't give him that opportunity to develop. He could end up being on the bench there for a few years and then moving somewhere else and then not playing. I'm worried that could happen, but it was a risk I felt that I was willing to take, because I think if it works out, we could absolutely smash this. But I guess we're about to go and find out if that's what happened. So, 5 years in the future for Shaqueel van Persie with the original sim to Leipzig. In some ways, seeing him still at Leipzig might actually be a good thing, but if he's at somewhere else and it's like a big side, then maybe they've made that move. So let's find out. Van Persie, where you at, buddy? Van Persie, Leipzig. Okay, he's still there. That could be good or bad. Please, I want to see like 100 league appearances for him on this list. 150. Yes, come on. That's what we want to see. Only 26 years old, earning 165 grand a week at Leipzig, and 54 caps for the Dutch national team, and 30 goals for them already at the age of just 26, and 150 league appearances for RB Leipzig. This is much more like it. Exactly what I wanted to see. Can still play as a defensive midfielder. Makes that move in January. Doesn't start that many games that rest of the season as it goes. 3 goals and 2 assists, but then... Oh, actually, no. Lots of substitute appearances again. 5 there with 7 goals. Please tell me he starts playing games. There we go. Took him a little while to work his way in, probably because of Loic Openda, and I was worried they might sell him. But then, 11 goals that year, 14, then 9 last season. But he did start every game, so it might just be a bit of a down year for Leipzig, potentially. So I'm not too worried about that. And it doesn't appear that he's wanted by anybody right now, and it looks like he's content being at Leipzig for the time being. So that's a good sign. Lots of international caps coming. I think he's definitely got 100 Dutch caps in him potentially as well. So let's go 5 more years to when he's 31. He'll still be playing. Will he still be at Leipzig? Now that we know he's made a bit of a success of himself there, I'd actually quite like to see him be at a different club now to say he took that final step, unless maybe Leipzig became amazing. Right, let's find out. Van Persie. That's Van Persie, Matt. Right, where's he at? Still at Leipzig, but it looks like it's good things. 102 caps for the Netherlands and 54 goals. Now he's wanted, but he's on 225 grand a week. So he's not earning as much as he was at Man United for that brief period. But the actual development as a footballer is insane, particularly his finishing. That seems to have gone up by like 3 in the past 4 years. And also can play a lot off the left-hand side. I wonder if that's where he's been operating a little bit more. Point being, he's been banging goals in for them yet again. And yeah, I mean, actually, the goals have sort of dried up ever so slightly here, but he's still playing every single match pretty much. Well, not every match, but he's playing a lot. And when he plays, he starts. So like 9 goals and 6 assists. In fact, his last season is one of his best ones for a while, to be fair. So he's just been very consistent. It seems that they've possibly been operating with him in a slightly different role, maybe off the side, because you notice that he's getting a lot more assists, which to me indicates that he's playing on the wing, and would also explain why he's now completely natural off that left-hand side. So in a way, that actually makes these goal numbers even more impressive. If he's doing that off the left-hand side and still managing to get nearly double-digit goals a season, and he is in all competitions, that's a good sign. And look at that. 7.44 average rating is insane. Let me just check what Leipzig are playing and where he's operating. We might be able to see him in the tactic. Oh, wow. Okay, they're actually... don't know if that's actually even really a fair representation, unless they've just got a new manager and this is where his entire career is about to take a nosedive. Oh, they have. They've got a new coach. Iñaki Arrieta is the new manager. He's been there for 6 months. This might explain a slight drop in form potentially, because Oliver Glasner obviously plays this system where he would slot into it much nicer. With that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him immediately drop off the radar at Leipzig, or they play him in DM somehow, or they just put him back through the middle potentially. That is always an option. They could just dump him back through the centre, or he makes that move. Right, 5 more years. Let's see where he's at when he's 36. He might not even be playing still, actually. What's his natural fitness? 15. He might well be. We'll see. Right, Van Persie. Is he still about? He's not. Right, we'll have to go back and find him. He is. Oh, he's a Feyenoord again. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, right. This is very intriguing now. Is it permanent as well? Yeah, so he's retiring, as you can see there. He's back at Feyenoord again. That's actually such a nice coming full circle approach. 119 caps for the Dutch national team as well. 56 goals for them. Okay, we've got to figure out how this ended up happening. So it was around about... it was here, wasn't it? When he had that great year. Then it dropped down massively, almost immediately. Still scored loads of goals. Got loads of assists, presumably playing through the middle again, though. And then it kind of went to crap. That year, 1 substitute appearance. Makes that move back to the Eredivisie on a free transfer, back to his original club of Feyenoord. Ends up getting 8 goals and 2 assists on this season, and then decides to retire at the age of 35. Overall career perspective, I feel like he's done pretty well here, and I think that was the right move for us. I'm amazed he stayed at Leipzig for as long as he did, but the question is whether he's won anything. Like, if he's won a Bundesliga in there, maybe some European competitions, and maybe something with the Dutch national team as well, potentially. That's really what's going to decide it, I would say. So now let's dive straight into the milestones page. Right, what are we saying? Competitions. Oh, okay. So DFB Pokal runner-up, few of those. Europa League winners with Leipzig. Super Cup as well. Nations League 3rd place with the Netherlands. World Cup runner-up. DFB Pokal, but they did win the DFB Pokal there and UEFA Champions. Oh my goodness, Europa League runner-up. But they have won the Bundesliga. That looks like the season where he didn't play very much, but he has still got a Bundesliga winner's medal to his name. He's won that big dish. I guess we're about to find out. Does he go and do stuff in the second half of his career with Manchester United? Because potentially, even though he was surplus to requirement there, they were still listing him for £77 million, which is hilarious. How can you be both? You can't be surplus to requirement and wanting nearly £80 million for him. So I don't know if he even ends up moving, and I think it's going to heavily depend on what he does in the second half of that career as to whether it works. But I feel like the development he would have got at Leipzig is what could potentially win this for me. So by looking at the final part of his career with his original agent from the Man United days, let's go. So I've gone to the same year just to see. He might have already retired by this point. Oh, he's FC Twente. Let's just see if there's another year. See if he played on a little bit further in this one. No, he's ahead of youth development, which means we can actually check him here. So we did just see that he was at Twente the last season. So that's something. He's back in the Netherlands. Right. Is he a good... No, he's not. No, he is not. Oh, he's been all... Oh, my goodness me. This is all loans. But he stayed at Man United a lot longer than I expected. Right, okay, let's see. Career stats. So this was the... Oh, wow, he was at United for a while, wasn't he? Because that was the loan move to Celtic I was on about, where he did well, but then he came back, then went on loan to Lyon, did well again, came back to Man United, actually played a little bit, but again, it was all substitute appearances. Then another loan, this time to Marseille, did appallingly there. Then a £2.5 million loan to Celtic again, where it wasn't anywhere near as successful as his original loan spell, and then finally got him a free transfer to Real Sociedad, where admittedly he did hit the ground running pretty damn well and actually grew into it. 13 goals that year is pretty damn good. 10 goals the following season, but then it just dried up very, very quickly after that. Such was him moving back to the Eredivisie to 20 with 4 goals and 22 that season, ironically. At that point, he's already nearly 30 years old, which means that still plenty of time left in his career, but that development time is going to have been massively truncated, so he would not have been gaining CA for the most part. So I can't imagine he would have been much better than about 150 CA at that point. Bear in mind, in this database, his PA was 173 because it's -9 or something like that, -8, whatever. He was 173, so it was fairly high on for what he could be, and I don't think he would have reached it here somehow. Just checking in on his milestones, he must have won some stuff. World Cup runners up again. Oh, he won the World Cup. Won the well, a lot of them love winning stuff in Scotland, don't they? There's just not a lot of actual individual trophies beyond like the World Cup, I suppose, in terms of like massive achievements. How much did he play for the national team? Interestingly, we can't really see that there, can we? How many games? Yeah, he actually only got 36 caps for the Dutch national team. So he may have won the World Cup, but he barely had much of a career in the full national team compared to what he did when he was at Leipzig. So I'll have to leave that one up to you, because the World Cup is a massive honour, but we don't know how much he really would have played in that World Cup as well. So that's another point. I'm looking through this World Cup right now. They knocked out England, of course they did. And so far, I've not seen a single appearance from him. Shout out Ivory Coast. Ah, there he is. So yes, he makes one appearance in the semi-final. Yeah, so he basically makes one appearance in that World Cup in the semi-final against Cote d'Ivoire. So he didn't really feature all that much. He still gets the medal. Credit to him, but it wasn't like he had the biggest impact on that at that point in his career just yet, because he was still fairly young at that point. So I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about that. I realize this has probably been an extremely long video. I'm trying to keep it as short as I can, but with the fact that we're doing 3 players and different timelines and that, it's always going to be a bit of a long one, but I'll try to chop it up and keep it interesting for you guys, hopefully. So if you have enjoyed this, and I hope you have, it's been fun doing these types of videos again. I want to try and at least do one of these like every month, because I know you guys who seem to like them. Then yeah, drop a like, that would be lovely. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of video, subscribe. I'd appreciate that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hold your gun, capybara, bye-bye.